Creativity in the Age of COVID with Dr. Judi Blume and Richard Skipper. It's the only program in which therapy and entertainment come together to show everyone not only how to cope in the age of COVID, but how to be creatively productive through it all. And now, Dr. Judi Blume and Richard Skipper.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creativity in the Age of COVID with Dr. Judi Blume and Richard Skipper. I hope that Dr. Judi Blume will make it today. Mercury is now in retrograde in my house. It's Aquarius. Next week is my birthday, and we've had all kinds of crazy mishigas to get us on today. So hopefully Dr. Blume is going to show up. We have three incredible artists today. We have Shelly Goldstein, who some of you may remember that did not know her before then, that I interviewed her last month, just before Christmas. She was one of my Christmas guests, Hanukkah guest, Kwanzaa guest. I celebrate everything. And I was lucky to have her. She's an incredible writer. She is an incredible cabaret artist, all around good person. And I'm thrilled that she's going to be joining us today. We also have a very hip reverend, Susan Sparks, who I am going to be meeting for the first time today. And I'm very excited about that. And then I have to say my oldest friend in the world of show business, and that's Andrea Wolper. And I don't mean oldest in terms of chronological age, but just in the terms of the time that we've known each other. I have been reading an incredible book called Real Artists Don't Starve. Here it is, by Jeff Goins. And in his book, he talks about, artist. Dr. Blume has arrived here, so I'm going to bring her on. You made it.
Yeah, I made it.
I am blaming everything on Mercury retrograde.
That's it.
Yes, because things are crazy. I just introduced all of our guests today,
Okay.
And it's good to see you. Before we begin, how are you?
I'm doing great. Hope is on the horizon. I think that's our message for the day. I think we're turning a quarter in the COVID era, and we're not there yet, but we're getting there, people.
No, we've got incredible guests today. I've already told everyone about them. You'll be meeting them as we bring each one on. But I was telling everyone about this book that I've been reading called Real Artists Don't Starve. And right now I'm on the chapter about starving artist versus thriving artist. And I'm going to begin I think I'm going to bring Shelly Goldstein on for us first. Hello, Shelly.
Shelly.
Dr. Judi Blume. Shelly, I want to ask you, you and I have talked a few weeks ago, and a lot's been going on in your life. But how are you dealing with everything right now as far as your creativity is concerned and where that places you in the midst of a pandemic?
Well, I spend a lot of time with my space laser. Dr. Blume has one as well, I know. And I've learned this week that in addition to taking out acres of forest, you can also create a colorful creme brulee. It's a wonderful thing to have.
Now, are you able to send those creme brulees to the other coast? I do have a birthday coming up.
Your birthday's next week. My husband's birthday is today. February is fabulous.
Yes, my mom's birthday was yesterday, so a shout out.
Little birthday, right? Okay, I'm not answering your question. I do.
Yes.
To get mildly serious, I will start from quoting a lyric spoken by your favorite character, written by the great Jerry Herman. Whatever you do, for God's sake, keep breathing. Is sort of first of all. And, I've been very lucky. I've been crazy busy during COVID. Now, it's weird because I'm used to working in pants, and I've realized, I think when this is over, I doubt I will ever zip a zipper again. I'm way too happy with the stretch pants thing. But I mean, I'm primarily a writer and performer, and whereas I'm not performing as much, I've done about 5 or 6 concerts in the past year online. I've got a couple coming up. One is for a private group in New Orleans. Another one I did was for about 500 people along the South and the Eastern Seaboard, all through this, StreamYard or Zoom or whatever. And then I'm in a wonderful, wonderful group called the Fabulous Chickies, which is comprised of some of the greatest female singers in cabaret and musical theater and Broadway. And we did a concert live last October, and there may be another one coming up very soon, announcement to come. And I've done a lot of writing. I've done way too much eating. Mm-hmm. I have one thing in which I'm very, 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 very blessed. I mentioned it was my husband's birthday. We are often apart because he is often based in the UK and I'm often based here. And through this thing, we decided we had to be together. So we're used to hopping planes all the time and seeing each other. But we've been together every day for the past year. And it's been wonderful and it's been nourishing. And I think even if you don't have someone in the place you live, the place you work with you, it's time to really be there for other people and hope that they will be there for you. Mm-hmm. Because we are, even those of us that have introverted sides and quiet sides, we're group animals. And I think it's hurt a lot of people psychologically and creatively to just be sitting in a room alone. Mm-hmm. And, we have to be safe. I'm not doing anything. I haven't been in a store since, St. Patrick's Day of last year. We have to find ways of making the world come to us and being there for the world. Mm-hmm. And the good thing about that is, we have what we're doing right now. It's not as enjoyable as being able to see you and hug you, Richard, or to really get to know you, Dr. Bloom. But technology is meeting us halfway. Yeah. So that's a big help. And just, you have to do 2 things. I think one, whatever you did before, keep doing it because the world will come back. The second is, how is what you're doing, if you're an actor, if you're a singer, if you're a writer, even if you're a dancer, it's a little hard to do that by yourself, but how can you make that work to the world at large? And, YouTube, FaceTime Live, TikTok, right-wing Nazi sites. There's no end to the places you can go. So you might not want to, but what I'm getting at is we are blessed with all this wackadoodle technology. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't make up for hugging and doing a show with an audience and with other actors. But I've also done a lot of plays over the past 6 months this way. And it's like anything else. It's a new method of performance and of communication. And the more we do it, the sound is better than it was a few months ago. The video is better. We all have these stupid things now, and we have green screens.
It's so funny. Today I was watching MSNBC. And you see all of these people from their own homes now, and I can see the ring lights in their eyes, in their glasses, and everything. And I want to bring on the person who invented the ring light. Because, do you know who it is?
No, but that's the nice point. Is at first everything was being done on Zoom, and StreamYard is a little better for sound quality, so it's better for singers, it's better for actors. So the technology is catching up with our creativity. Mm-hmm. So, no, we're not going to be able to, do Carnegie Hall right now, but make your living room. When we were kids, we had the hairbrush and we did the show in front of the mirror. Well, now we can do it into our computer.
Yes. Well, I do want to bring on our next guest. And Sue Matsuki is watching, who, of course, has been on our show before. And she introduced introduced me to Susan Sparks. I do want to let you know that your mic is muted, so don't forget that your mic is unmute before you speak. She is a lecturer. She is a positive thinking guru. She's a reverend. And as Sue says, she's a motorcycle riding chick. So all of those things. So Susan, Reverend Susan Sparks, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Richard, and greetings from Ring Light Central right here in the sanctuary. Okay, this is what's going on.
I want to ask you, how are you dealing with everything really in the midst of this crazy world, especially when it comes to your creativity?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And I just need to start with saying happy birthday, Richard. Yes.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
very, very thankful for you introducing me as a hip reverend, maybe the nicest thing anyone's ever said. So thank you.
Well, I owe all that to Sue. That's the way she describes you.
Okay, Sue. Mwah, mwah. Okay.
Yes.
And Dr. Bloom, I love what you said about hope is on the horizon. That is just such a powerful statement, and it's so true. And in my world and in my work, I believe that deeply because of humor and our ability to laugh.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't think a Baptist is funny, which is so fair. It's totally fair. But I actually think humor is the most important gift we have. I am so privileged to be the pastor of a very diverse, progressive congregation that's right in Midtown Manhattan. I'm sitting here, as you can tell from the stained glass, about 3 blocks from the Empire State Building. And we put signs flat front to Madison Avenue as people walk by to engage them with thought and humor, just to make them realize that this is not your average Baptist church. I mean, one of the signs said, "What happens in Vegas is forgiven here." One of my favorites was "Lower your expectations and claim a victory," which is my mantra. But my favorite was honk if you love Jesus, text while driving if you want to meet him. You gotta love that. Right? It's funny, but it also links in kind of spirituality to humor. It makes people go, whoa, there's a different lens here coming in. And, you know, like I said, I think humor is probably the most powerful gift we have. And to Dr. Bloom's point, hope is on the horizon. And here's my sort of summary of it. If you can laugh at yourself, you can forgive yourself. And if you can forgive yourself, you can forgive others.
Right.
And that's kind of the whole, like, that's every sermon I've ever given in 20 years in like 10 seconds.
Right.
But once you forgive yourself, you're also able to laugh at yourself.
That's right.
It goes back and forth.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, you know, my dad put it in a different way. He always said that in life, you only needed 2 tools to get through, like WD-40, say it with me, and duct tape. You know?
Right.
And I always think that humor is sort of the WD-40 and duct tape of life because it bonds us together. It helps us see the commonalities, and then it helps us break open fresh and see something new. So if you look at each of them, like the WD-40 side, we can give a little forgiveness to ourselves because, well, as Charlie Chaplin said, life in the close-up is a tragedy, but life in the long shot is a comedy. So when we can step back and laugh at ourselves a little bit, we can find a wee bit of forgiveness in just the day-to-day crazy stuff that we deal with. But maybe the bigger problem, I think, on the horizon, where, as to Dr. Bloom's point, we need the most hope, is how we engage and see others. And that's where the WD-40 comes in. I think when we're able to laugh together, it helps us see the commonality first, right? I'm actually on a comedy tour and have been on it since 9/11 with a rabbi and a Muslim comic, which I'm so proud of. It's called the Laugh and Peace Tour. I'm the Southern Christian chick MC. Don't you love it? But, you know, we've got this, you know, incredibly talented Muslim comic, Jabran Salim, and we've worked with other comics who bring a perspective about being a Muslim in America. Like one of our comics said, I don't understand why it takes like, you know, why you guys get upset of having to be at the airport 2 hours ahead of time. I mean, I have to be there 2 months ahead of time. You know, it's just,
oh my God.
full of
I
us.
miss the days when you just showed up and you got on. I'm going to bring our next guest on, and then we're all going to engage in this wonderful conversation. Andrea Wolper. Andrea, I want to say, and I'm getting some feedback, so be aware of that with the microphones. I don't know how to fix that. But if you could all mute your mics, while I speak with Andrea for a moment. Andrea and I met in a show that back in the 80s called Round Trip to Babylon. This show was in a theater that also served as a sex club after hours. And Andrea's nodding her head. I'm not making this up.
An S&M club, let's be real.
An S&M club. And the show was so bad. If you want to know how bad was it? Our audiences would be gone by Act 2, and, which we were all thrilled about because we'd all go out for a bite to eat and dinner or whatever. But Andrea, you tell a great story about walking out after one of the shows. Do you remember the couple?
Well, yes, because this was a day where there were 4 people in the audience, and at intermission, I just stepped out in the front. And actually, I was only in Act 2. So I stepped out, and I saw 2 people go off down 20 whatever street this way, and 2 people go off this way, and they both kept going and going and going. So I didn't go on that day. But actually, it's funny. I was thinking about it because sometime after that, I was in another very bad show. Like quadruple off-Broadway show, but I also made a lifetime friend from that bad show. So there's something to be said for doing bad shows way off Broadway, because you might make some friends for life.
But I will say this, Andrea is a world-class, incredible jazz singer. And that's where your focus is now with everything. What did your calendar look like, Andrea, when COVID hit and everything essentially shut down? Because I know that you're working all the time.
Well, I had a couple of tours and some gigs. I was supposed to go in October to an artist residency in Switzerland. And so it was just sort of, as with a lot of people, day by day, you just sort of cancel. You get email, cancel. But one of the things, so of course those were disappointing, all those things. I was supposed to go to Vermont for this really interesting tour, performance series, and then this thing in Switzerland and some other things. But one of the things that when I first realized what was going on, before I say anything else, I just want to say the first few minutes of the show before I came on were so wonderful. I don't want to forget to say that. You all had me laughing and writing down bits of wisdom. Really wonderful.
I do want to say, excuse me for interrupting with everyone, if you have earbuds, Bobs, put those in. And also, if you can turn your sound level down a little bit, that will cut some of the feedback that we were getting. So just be aware of that. And once we get the conversation going, if you have anything that you feel that you want to add, don't hesitate. Jump right into the water. And with that, Andrea, keep going. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So when it first started, I said to myself, okay, I know how to do this because I've been to artist residencies. And in case anybody doesn't know what that is, there are these places, foundations, organizations all over the world and the country where you apply, and if you're selected, you go and they give you a place to stay, sometimes a stipend, and you just do your work. So your time is completely unstructured and you're just there to do your work. And I've done some of those. They're wonderful. And I find that I've been more productive in that kind of setting. And so when this first started, I kind of treated it like an artist residency, and I jumped into things that had been on my to-do lists. Like, I think the first thing I did was I gave my website a complete makeover. It was long overdue. Things like that. I My husband is a double bass player, and we almost never do duo gigs, but we got asked to do some gigs, so we had to get the duo stuff together. So we did that, got my YouTube together. Another thing is that it's given me the time. I teach vocal technique, but I also teach workshops, and usually those are when I'm somewhere in person. But I've been able to now teach I taught a songwriting workshop and a scat singing workshop through California Jazz Conservatory online. The other thing that's been exciting for me is that I have some things that I've recorded that I hadn't done anything with, and I wanted to make videos with them. And this finally actually gave me the opportunity to do that, to make these kind of mini movies, actually. So the one other thing, though, basically, I've been a machine, okay? So what's really interesting to me, I'm glad that I've gotten a lot of stuff done, gotten into some new territory. It's been wonderful. But about a month or so ago, I started to just say, I just want to sit here and do nothing. So it's been interesting for me to see that process of trying to make lemonade out of lemons, and doing that, and yet also saying, but there's something else too. There's another side to this. Do I have to be a doing machine? Is there something to be said for just being in the world the way it is now? So, as with everything, I think it's about finding balance. It's different for everybody, I think. But just, there are lessons to be learned.
Now, Dr. Bloom, I'm reminded of something that you said in our last show when you were talking about scheduling and everything, and you said always, I read an article this week, interestingly enough, about the white space that we have on our calendars, that time that remains white space. Because I think all of us who are artists, we always feel that we have to work constantly at our craft and doing everything. So Dr. Bloom, with anything that has been said thus far that you want to weigh in on, I'd love to hear your perspective on everything.
Well, a couple of things, Susan, when you were talking, about humor and the use of humor in what you do. Humor is my number one prescription for everyone I work with, as an antidote to depression and anxiety, and just as a way of coping with the realities that everybody's facing in today's world. And, telling them to listen to podcasts and, watch comedy shows and read comedy and, just to really laugh and find ways of laughing. And laughing with friends, watching something together on Zoom or something and talking about it and laughing together as a way of binding us together as people, as friends, as human beings, right? That it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom all the time, even in these days. So I just thought that was really important. And Shelley, when you were talking about being able to spend the time with your husband that you never get to really spend, right? That's been a real eye-opening kind of a blessing. And not everybody's that fortunate. I mean, I was talking to someone this week who is considering divorce because she and her husband never spent time together. And now
I'm hearing a lot of that.
Right.
I don't mean to laugh at that,
Right.
Although we've got to find the humor in that as well.
Yes, and we have to find the humor in it as well, right? And I'm helping her find the humor in it as well, exactly, as she really grapples with that kind of a decision. But and then Andrea, what you were talking about being able to just kind of be and not have to be doing. Yeah, we don't have to always be a doing animal. We can just be a being. And that's so important for us to spend some time every day, just, in either in meditation or just in centered kind of downtime.
Well, one thing
important.
Thank you. Thank you. One thing that I've always tried to practice in my own life is mindfulness and being in the moment with everything that I do. One of the, and I don't know why I'm getting feedback from somewhere here, but one of the things that I've always said is that for me as an artist, being on stage and being in the moment is, to me, is nirvana. It's really being in that moment. And I think that what the last year has taught for me is really this idea of only having this 24-hour time frame that we are operating from. And I think the other thing, and I want to get everyone's take on this, and I'll start with you, Shelley, is the big key word that jumps out for me above all others, including humor, this year, is adaptability, and how easy it is for us to either adapt, or the other big word that's, think about this, has been very much in our consciousness, especially over the past few years, is resistance. So, and that resistance is filtering into every aspect of our being. So, Shelley, with you, adaptability, what has been easy for you to adapt to, and what are you still resisting the most?
It's an interesting question. Well, in terms of adaptability, I come out of, a lot of improvisation. I grew up studying at Second City from the time I was 13, and you learn the simplest rule of that is always to say yes to whatever the predicament is in front of you and find a way to make it work. My life is humor. I'm a comedy writer and a comedy performer, and without comedy, we'd all be dead. My day is spent looking at this kaleidoscope of tragedy that we're living through right now, and I don't say that dismissively. None of us are forgetting the fact that we're getting very close to 500,000 Americans have died in the last year, and that didn't have to happen at that much of a number. We just lived through this election, which was probably a lot harder than that S&M club that was at the theater that you guys worked at. Mm-hmm. And I responded to that by doing some videos, musical parody, comedy videos, whatever. So again, it's like I'd love to do those on stage, but I can't. So do them, buy a green screen, put them on YouTube. My videos are getting more elaborate than they used to be. The hardest thing, I suppose, that's tough. It's a really good question. I try not to let a cloud come over my head. I try not to, get in my own way, which is a little bit easier to do when you're by yourself so much. Because another thing about our lives, LA, Manhattan, wherever you are, we're busy. We're busy all the time. And whereas that's great and that accomplishes a lot, it also allows you not to think about a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I just try to keep the light on, and I try to, when I'm feeling a little down, I try to check in with somebody who I know might be a little blue or is going through a tough time or is just on their own through all of this.
Thank you. Dr. Bloom, anything you want to add to that? You're muted. Oh.
I forgot about that. No, Shelley, I agree with you. It's we're just on this treadmill all the time, right? And it's so important to get off of that treadmill and really step back and reevaluate things and reevaluate what's really important to us. And the humor is a great antidote to all the unspeakable difficulties that have befallen us in this last year and in this last 4 years before that. but it's, I truly do think we're turning a corner here.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
You know, and it's just a question of kind of hanging on. Just hang on a little bit longer, everybody. We're going to get there. We're
going to get there. Before I go to Susan, I'm reminded of a story. Jack Barr said that one time he went to Judy Garland's house and there were moving vans in front and they were moving everything out. Everything was being repossessed. And he walked in and the maid and the people that were working in the house were crying. They said they're taking everything away from her. She's going to be left with nothing. And he said, then Judy came down the stairs with this huge picture hat on. And he said, Judy, what's going on? She said, Jack, behind every cloud is another cloud. Let's go. Susan, adaptability for you.
Well, I don't know how to follow that quote. Wow. Yeah. Well, I love your question. It's adaptability and resistance. What a great bookend. I think for adaptability, I'm a breast cancer survivor, and I found humor to be probably the most right on, Shelley. And I know a lot of our listeners, given the percentages, if you haven't gone through breast cancer, it's a cancer or it's a hard, it's some type of illness or a hard time, whatever. We've all hit that point. And I found humor to be the most powerful thing I had going on. I think about going in right before surgery, and I was really scared. And the anesthesiologist comes in, and he sees that I'm scared, and he points at the IV bottle, and he goes, this stuff, it's a great vintage. Which is doubly funny, given that I'm a Baptist pastor, get ready to wonder. So the man saw right through me, obviously. I'm like, where's my black box? And so, what was funny about that is not only did it calm me down, but later I realized that the laughter, the intake of oxygen not only brought the body down, but it helped on the recovery on the other side and the psychological piece too. So I guess my point there being, when we can laugh in a place of pain, there is something so empowering about that. It's like you go, you know what, you may defeat me, but you won't define me. Right. So laughter as a piece of kind of ability to change and pivot is great, but the resilience piece is equally important. And I kind of go back to that Life and Peace tour. Our big belief is when you laugh together, your worlds overlap for a split second. And you could be family, friends, or complete enemies. But in order to laugh at the same thing, you share the joke. You share the common premise.
And Susan, don't you find that right now we're living in a politically correct climate where people are afraid to laugh at the foibles of going on? We don't laugh to make fun of somebody, but you try to find the humor in certain things. And the seriousness of the world that we're living in addition to everything else, I think the fact that people are failing to laugh at these moments, and that's hurting us, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think laughter, again, is appropriate in any space. My rule is I kind of draw an imaginary circle around myself. So anything inside that circle is appropriate. I can laugh at women. I can laugh at pastors. I can laugh at Baptists, Southerners, people that wear blue sweaters, people that have red hair that maybe weren't red when it was born, whatever.
Where in the South are you from originally? I have to ask that.
Say again?
Where in the South are you from originally?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
I'm from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So I hear the accent.
Yes. Go on and on about that. But, it's that once you step out of that circle, though, that's when it can get dangerous. Now, some comedians can manage that, but there's so many that don't. And what that does is burn the bridges as opposed to build them.
Right.
And that's where I think we've got to be very careful. But we laugh in solidarity with each other to bond with the common experience.
Great.
Susan, I'm going to put in a shameless plug here for Tom's book, Richard. Because I think you'll
please. I was going to do that earlier. Thank you for jumping in there. Yes.
My fiance, Tom Quinn, wrote a book called What Do You Do with a Chocolate Jesus?, which is a humorous look at Christianity.
Love it.
Totally factual and really funny.
Love it.
And since you're plugging, I will give a plug too. You can go to my YouTube channel, and my interview with Thomas is there. And it is, a brilliant, brilliant book because he approaches it from both a scholarly and a humorous look at it. So I recommend the book to everybody.
I love it. And I'll give a last plug. I have a pink plastic Jesus in my office. I will run, go get it if you'd like. But
Of course.
you turn him up, and he has an 8-ball in his feet, and he will answer questions for you. So,
All right.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we're gonna you grab that ball, and we will end today's show with everyone getting a question from the pink Jesus.
fabulous.
So, Andrea, you go ahead. Adaptability, resistance. What's working? What's not working?
Okay. I'm not sure how to answer that. I mean, I feel like, Shelley, I mean, I'm an improviser too. So, you know, and I've really felt that very strongly. I'm an improvising singer. So I feel like I've adapted a lot to the circumstances. Just in terms of my own life and creativity. And again, try to just say, okay, here's what it is. How do I make this work for me? Because that's what improvisers do, you know? But there's so many, I have resisted the ring light, okay? I've resisted the ring light.
Well, your lighting is perfect. Whatever you're doing.
You have your own inner glow
No.
that works
Whatever you
for you.
have, it's working. Yeah.
Good. But I don't know. I'm not really sure how to answer that question. I just want to say something that I don't know. In addition to, I think, all the things that we're talking about, our personal work or our personal experiences, I'm sure that many of us are dealing with family issues, things that we're dealing with who may be far away, friends who are far away. And that's another layer of, just things that we're navigating during this time in a different way. And of course, the political chaos in our country, which has, I know, been very stressful. And I'm sure that many of us got involved with campaign work before the election. And it's, yes, we're seeing glimmers of light, but there's still a lot to worry about. I guess one of the things that's been on my mind is, I feel like, I mean, I'm also here with my husband, and sometimes it's too much togetherness, to be honest, but I feel really fortunate to have a wonderful partner to go through this with. And I think about people who don't have that, and as I'm seeing people start to get vaccinated, I'm thinking about, like, what more can I do to help so that people who maybe don't have the ability to jump on that website to sign up for their vaccine, like, to make sure that people are getting what they need at this time. I think it's easy to succumb to that feeling of overwhelm, and it's because it's real. I don't really have the answers. I'm just saying, I think this is another thing that's going on. That overwhelm, it's with us, and it's real. And I don't know.
Dr. Bloom?
Yeah, I see it every day, all day long. So you're right on, Andrea.
If I can just say one thing, I have a very good friend who's a therapist, and she said it's so interesting at this time to be helping people when you're going through the exact same thing. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd be curious to hear more about that from you if you want.
Well, I mean, when you think about the Titanic and the fact that so many people were helping each other, in a moment, and I think that any time that we're going, and Dr. Bloom will weigh in on this as well, but I think that any time that we're going through a natural disaster, or, I mean, like here, I mean, we had a snowstorm. We had 21 inches of snow here in Rockland County earlier this week. And neighbors are, blowing the snow out of neighbors' driveways and shoveling and helping each other. I think that these moments really cause so many of us to rise to the level in terms of helping each other out. And we all realize, and again, I quote this with almost every show, my friend David Freeman says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. So thank you. Dr. Bloom.
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough. And people are in all kinds of really difficult and sometimes desperate kinds of situations these days, between money issues, being unemployed or having hours cut drastically back, that kind of thing, or being isolated and alone. Yeah, those of us who have partners, I think, are very fortunate, even when it's a little too much togetherness, Andrea, and I can relate. But it's, we have to live in gratitude. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. We have to live in gratitude for what we do have and not catastrophize our own individual situations. And to understand that that feeling of overwhelm and that COVID fatigue that is rampant these days is a shared experience. So just like the neighbor, blowing the snow off of your car, Richard, this is also a shared experience that we can all commiserate around, and reaching out, as Richard always points out, call the fifth person on your list, right? And just call them. I do that. I've started doing that every week. I pick up.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. That's
forever.
That's great.
And I call them.
Again, because I was reading this morning in Jeff Goins' book, which I recommend, great book. But he was talking to this morning, the chapter that I'm reading is about stubbornness and how so many of us as artists are stubborn when it comes to our work. Sometimes we don't grow because we are stubborn in the moment of where we are. And in celebration of what I'm reading today, I'm going to start with you, Shelley, again. What are you stubborn about when it comes to either your creativity or the time frame that we're finding ourselves in right now?
You ask really good questions. What am
I learned from Dr. Bloom.
What am I stubborn about? It's a very hard question. I mean, I get very, very impatient with myself. And coming off of what Judi and Susan and Andrea were all just saying, the fact, in a really odd way, there is a positive side to this horror. And I think the fact that we're all doing it together, as strange as it is, the past generation has been consistently fragmenting who you are, who you talk to, where you get your news from, what media you bring into your life, what you keep out of your life, the people that you deal with, the people you don't deal with. And it's been a very long time since we've had something that we've all had to deal with on top of this election, which we all had to deal with. And the fact that we can't do all the things we want to do or are used to doing has forced us, in a way that I don't think regular life ever would, to look at exactly where am I in my life? Where do I want to be? What do I want to do? And again, whether you call it overwhelm or just sort of the cloud, the sort of pigpen cloud that tends to come over your life, you have to, I mean, in this regard, you have to be stubborn in a positive way. You have to be stubborn in that not letting it rain all over you.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah.
Dr. Bloom?
I'm with you. I'm stubborn about, I had the unfortunate experience of having what I thought was a really innocuous post saying, when Biden was elected, put up a post on Facebook, and I rarely put up political things for those kinds of reasons. Just saying, so glad, we're going to have a chance for a new beginning and hopefully, a bipartisan spirit. And I mean, and that's what I wrote, and got attacked by all these, my posts are public, right? So
Mm-hmm.
got attacked by all these people I don't know, who are, Biden did this and just such negativity. And I was really stubborn about not responding to those people and just deleting their posts from my page, and and not engaging.
Well, please remember, deleting is a proactive act. So deleting is a proactive act.
It's a proactive act.
Yes, you don't need to respond.
Yeah, I'm not responding, and I'm not leaving that up there on my page. Sorry. So,
Very wise.
yeah.
Susan?
Shelley, I so love the pigpen cloud image. That is just like, that's the coolest thing ever. And I feel the same way. It's like this, it's sitting right there. But I guess, which leads me into, I am stubborn about not giving up hope. And not that I'm all that or strong, but when I just finished filming the sermon for today before this interview. And when I'm writing it, I picture the congregation when they used to be sitting in the pews here. And I think about, I get mad and feel like beaten up because my fresh direct order is not able to come on the day I want. It's like, really? And I look out at the people in my family. I have, I think of members who are people of color who are dealing with systemic racism in this country. I think of my LGBTQIA members who are dealing with such pain and, the refusal to give them equity in this country. I think about our immigrants who can't even get in to contribute their gifts. And I step back and I'm like, they still show up. They still have their faith. They still come here and want a word of hope. I owe them that. And so I feel a stubbornness not to give up hope, if nothing else, because of them.
Andrea?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not stubborn about anything at all.
I'll accept that.
I think that if my husband was sitting here, he could probably come up with a list, but I just love what everyone else has said. So beautiful and inspiring, and I'm just going to sort of say I'm with you on those really wise ways of embracing being stubborn.
Well, I love that. I love it.
Richard?
Yes.
I just thought of something, which is, all of us have accomplished things in our lives of which we are proud. And all of us have not quite achieved a particular rung on a particular ladder that we would like to reach before we say goodbye. And one of the huge lessons of this time is we're really seeing time is a finite thing, at least time here. What goes on after that? Susan, tell us. But there's been something kind of freeing about that, because again, there is always sort of, well, okay, I didn't do X today, but I can do it tomorrow. And we're sort of seeing the importance of today. And
you just reminded me, Cicely Tyson's book came out on Tuesday. And I reached out to her manager last week to do an interview with her. And I got a response from him the day before she passed away. And it was such a wonderful email to receive because it acknowledged me. It didn't blow me off. It didn't say he wished me success with my series. He acknowledged the work that I do. And he said, but she's really not in a position to do interviews right now. But I really appreciate the fact that you reached out. And it wasn't a form response. I felt acknowledged by this guy. And then the other night I was watching her on OWN on Super Soul Sunday, Masterclass. It was talking. And she said that this is the way it is on the ladder of life. On the top rung are white men. On the second rung are white women. On the third rung are black men. And on the fourth rung are black women and women of color. And all of us are striving to climb the ladder. But there's always someone on the next rung trying to step on our hands as we're climbing this ladder. And, and I got to thinking about that. And, Dr. Bloom mentioned, writing something on Facebook and then getting attacked for it. And right after George Floyd, an African-American friend of mine posted something on Facebook, and I responded by saying, I'm very sorry. And that was a genuine thought for me. And he said, my white privilege did not give me the right to respond to this because I don't know the pain that he was going through. And I said, you're absolutely right. I don't know what it's like to walk in your shoes. I don't know what it's like to walk in the shoes of a woman, although I have a couple of times. Let me put that out there. I don't know what it's like to be in anyone else's skin. All I know is that I try to be the best Richard Skipper that I can possibly be. And hopefully there will be some days that I will succeed at that. And there's some days that I just fail miserably at it. And if I offend someone, I'm one of those people that goes through life not wanting to offend people. And if I say something that hurts somebody, it weighs heavily on me. And that's me personally in terms of how I deal with everything. We are going to run out of time, and there are a couple of things that I want to do before we do go.
Oh, Jesus.
That's how we're going to end the show. But first of all, I want to thank everybody for being here today. Thank you for being here. Dr. Bloom, Judi Bloom, and I, we started doing this show because we are creatives and we're all going through this together. But we are hoping for the day when the show can be renamed to Creativity After COVID and how we are getting to the other side. Judi, brought that to the table, and I love that. I do want to thank everyone for being here. And please, as I do say with every show, go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Go to your fifth person on Facebook and call them, not with a text, not with an email, not with a private message. Pick up the phone and call them. And we're going to do like a little round robin type of thing. And I'll start with you. I'm going to start with you this time, Andrea, and we'll go in the opposite direction. Anything that we've talked about today that you want to expound upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish that we had, or just any message that you want to put out to everybody who's watching right now.
Oh, gosh. Honestly, I don't know. I feel so inarticulate today. All I want to say right now is thank you for having me, and I really want to thank each one of you, Richard, Judi, Shelley, and Susan. Really heartfelt thanks, because I guess I knew that this would be fun and interesting, but I really didn't know what to expect beyond that. And each one of you has shared such generosity of spirit and wisdom, and really, I mean, in your little boxes there were here in our Hollywood squares, and each one of you has said something that's touched my heart and made me think, and I really mean that very genuinely. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Susan?
And many thanks to all of you as well. This has been such an honor. And I want to just tag on what Shelley said about time running out, that time is so short. And I'll just leave you with a quote from Irma Bombeck, who is, I just think, is the greatest thing ever, the wonderful syndicated columnist, who said, think of the women on the Titanic who on that fateful night said no to dessert. Just, time is short, and you've got to claim your dessert. You've got to claim your happiness and your joy right now.
Okay. Shelley?
This is why I want to play Pippin's grandmother. There's a wonderful quote written by one of my favorite writers, Rita Mae Brown. And whereas, Richard, what you said by way of your friend is right, there are always times that we are not capable, as much as we want to, of walking in someone else's shoes. But the line in the book is, I don't believe in comparative suffering, because the truth is everyone suffers, and a lot of people suffer in silence. We've certainly learned that over the past couple of years with Me Too and things like that. And when someone feels that their pain is not as important as someone else's pain, it stays within them, which hurts them and hurts everyone around them. And if we really want the world to heal, we have to do everything we can to heal ourselves. And then when you're going up that ladder, I have never tried to stop anyone else from climbing. Pull somebody up, alongside you.
That's great. That's great. And Judi, before we give you the final word, you get to ask the Pink Jesus a question.
All right. All right. Pink Jesus, when will I get my vaccine?
Okay, I'm just repeating what he said. I died for this. That's what.
Andrea, you get to ask the Pink Jesus a question.
When will I get my space laser?
It's just a general response. He says, "Amen."
Oh, amen to that question. Shelley,
Yeah.
you get to ask the Pink Jesus a question.
Oh my gosh, it's between something theological and when will I play Mama Rose? Will there come a time soon when we can all celebrate each other's faiths instead of fighting over them?
Lord God, I hope so.
Now, Susan,
Said.
I'm going to put my fate in your hand. You get to ask the Pink Jesus a question for me.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Is Richard Skipper's show the best thing ever created? I swear to God, I still love you.
And on that note, Dr. Bloom, I'm going to give you the final word. We will be back here in 2 weeks. We will be back on February 18th. We have a great lineup already lined up. So thank you all for being here.
Happy birthday, Richard.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for the gifts that you all give to the world and that you will continue to give. Just keep being your authentic selves.
Yeah.
Dr. Bloom.
We were talking about, the reaction that your friend had when you made a comment online to your Black friend, Richard, and, Shelley, you've got walking in other person's shoes and how difficult that is sometimes to do. But that's the essence of empathy, is being able to try and understand exactly what another person experiences and how they think about things. That's what real communication is about. Right? Is being able to understand where another person is coming from. So I urge everyone to always try for that. Just try to literally put yourself in someone else's shoes, especially when you're feeling down.
Amen. And keep laughing, everybody. We have to laugh. Thank you. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you.